a confirmation of the kind of mentality that's involved in politics, that he's asking us to believe that it cares about us and it cares about old people. See, old people and those with other medical conditions, the common denominator being a weakened immune system, are being used as an excuse to shut down the world economy and to in effect, put vast numbers of people under house arrest eventually, not even eventually in some countries. And these are the same people who have treated old people disgustingly, have overseen a system that has so many old people choosing between a meal or warmth because they can't afford both. And now this same system is telling us that we must shut down the world economy to protect old people. Now, when you're dealing with people lower down the system, be they nurses or doctors or whatever, and all the rest of them, they will, most of them anyway, I've met some doctors who don't, but most of them will care about their patients and will care about the elderly. But I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about those that run the system, especially those deep in the shadows who wouldn't know empathy if it smacked him in the face. And this is a story. I've just sat down and seen this story on davidicke.com. Republican Jim Inhofe, it's called Inhofe. I did check the pronunciation. That's what they said it was. Jim Inhofe dumped up to $450,000 in stock. The fourth senator implicated in the scandal. The Republican Senate caucus faced a massive scandal after multiple senators revealed in public filings that they had sold large stock holdings after private briefings on the coronavirus scandal. So they care. They care about the old people. Senator Richard Burr, Senator Kelly Loeffler, and Senator Ron Johnson have all been implicated in the scandal. And now conservative Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe has been caught up after reporting that he sold his stock in late February. There have been calls for them to resign. Well, those calls should not be necessary. So we need to get past the idea that the system and those that run it care about the elderly or care about people with, quote, pre-existing health problems that are overwhelmingly the ones that face danger from this coronavirus, whatever it turns out to be. And 80%, this is the official figure coming out of the medical profession, 80% of people who get this virus have, and this is the quote, very mild symptoms. The vast majority of the rest have what they call moderate symptoms, and that leaves this few that are in danger, in life danger from this virus. And it would be possible to cocoon those vulnerable people, to fire your resources at that group and keep them away as much as possible from the virus, and let those that will only have, even if they get it, very mild symptoms and at most moderate symptoms, let them get on with running the economic system. Because what we're facing here is economic catastrophe, and the legacy of this coronavirus is actually not going to be the virus. It's going to be the response to it, and it's demolishing of the economic system. An economic system which is I've been writing now for decades. This cult that I say absolutely is behind what's going on has had a long time ambition to create an economic catastrophe so that it can replace the current economic system with its own that's been long planned, just sitting there waiting. And it will be based on AI, and it will be based on digital, and it will be part of this smart grid. And another thing that they want to do, see, with AI taking vast numbers of jobs from people, and we've seen so much of it, but a fraction of what's coming. And then you add this economic shutdown as a result of this coronavirus all over the world. The question is asked, how are those people who have no jobs, how are they going to survive? Well, they want a big reduction in the population for a start. And the ones they're targeting are old people. This has been in my books for years. And here we have this virus, which is threatening, life-threatening, only to old people, or overwhelmingly to old people, and to those with pre-existing conditions, which is taking all their immune system resources to start with before being hit with this. And so the question is, how do people survive? And what I've been pointing out is that the plan is to have a guaranteed income paid by the government every month. And this guaranteed income will be very small and put people only in a survival mode in terms of money and lifestyle. That's why I call this plan the Hunger Games Society. And this will come with strings. The strings are, we will pay you this guaranteed income. And by the way, if you turn it down and you want to earn your own income, just could you explain how you're going to do it? AI is taking the jobs. The economy is in a catastrophic state because of the coronavirus. What are you going to do? So have this guaranteed income, but it comes, like I say, with strings. While you behave the way the government state wants, you will get the guaranteed income. But if you start acting in ways that the state doesn't want, then you're going to lose that guaranteed income, or there's going to be penalties. And this is connected into this whole smart grid. If you look at China, which is the blueprint for the West, where they want the West to go, you have millions of face recognition cameras in the cities, and they are tracking people in China in real time, second by second. And AI is logging their behavior. And they have a thing called the social credit system. And if you behave the way the government wants, you are given social credits by the system. If you don't behave as demanded, you lose social credits. And there comes a point where you fall below a certain amount and consequences kick in. And we've had, I was writing about this in the Trigger, we have had millions of Chinese people banned from flying and banned from even going on a train because their credits have fallen too low because they've not behaved the way the state wants them to behave. So this whole smart grid and the connecting of everything to the internet and artificial intelligence, including the human brain, is all connected to this guaranteed income because you behave as we want you to, or the guaranteed income goes. And like I say, where else are you going to get any income from? This is the game. And here we have now, as a result of this coronavirus hysteria, suggestions beginning to mount that we need some kind of guaranteed income because of all the economic upheaval that's going on, people losing their jobs. I mean, when you tell people not to go to pubs and restaurants and bars and hotels, well, whether that's justified or not, if you are cocooning those in danger, the outcome is obvious. Those businesses are going to go under in very large numbers, and the jobs are going to be lost. It's already happening. I was in a hotel last night in Dorset, in the south of England, where I was just staying. And I went in the restaurant, and I was the only person, a big restaurant, and I was the only person there. And after I'd had my dinner, I went across to the bar, and at the bar were the two owners, the chef, who'd only had me to cater for, and one single customer sitting there with his pint of beer. And we obviously got into the subject, which is fundamentally affecting them. And one of the owners said that he owned about 3 businesses, and in the next 3 weeks he was going to lose alone £150,000 because no one was coming. Not because they didn't want to, but because they were told not to. And when I went up to London Real, I've been to London so many times. I worked there for a long time. I've seen London, over decades and decades and decades. But it was bizarre going on Wednesday. I walked out of the station. First of all, the train was virtually empty. I then walk out into the big concourse at Waterloo Station in London, which is usually packed with people, and there was just a few stragglers. I then go and get a cab to London Real, and the line of cabs waiting for customers I've never seen anything like it. And the guy who took me said he'd been sitting there for 4 hours waiting to get to the front of the line so he could get a customer. And what's going to happen to those people? They're going to go out of business. Well, that'd be good for Uber, which has billions of dollars pumped into it and keeps losing vast amounts of money, but in doing so is creating step by step a global monopoly. And that monopoly is in preparation for autonomous cars, because that's that's the whole business model of Uber, is to end up with autonomous cars and basically a global monopoly on it. And everywhere I went was just either not quite like a ghost town. There were some people,